Hey guys, Josh from CrossFit Metro-East again, and Dr. Jordan Vickery here to talk to you again. Last week we talked a little bit about the squat and the ankle involvement in the squat and some mobility things on that. Today we're working on more of the front rack position. So a lot of times I'll get a lot of athletes that talk to me about trying to get in a healthy front rack position. We're going to talk about just what that is first and foremost, and why we want to be in that good rack position for the front squats, for the cleans. And we've got a couple of ideas for you that maybe you've not seen before, a couple things that we've just kind of played around with and we think work for the forearm, the wrist, and the hand today. Now there's a couple complexes that we talk about. We talk about the forearm, wrist, and hand complex in that front rack position. We also talk about the shoulder complex. So that's going to be a time for another video down the road. There's just too much going on here to try to address it all today. So today, Dr. Jordan and I are going to mainly focus on the forearm, wrist, and hand. That also includes these little fingers here. So first of all, we're going to talk about the front rack position, the importance of it, and why we want to get in a good position for the squat and for the clean. So when I'm set up in the rack for the front squat, I'm going to set up first out of the rack. Now, knowing that you may take this bar from the ground and then clean it into this position, but just for ease of the video, we're going to do it out of the rack today. So when I set up, I want to make sure that I have enough range of motion that I can bring my elbows up high. That bar is really resting on my shoulders. When I'm set up for a heavy front squat or a heavy catch in my clean, if my arms can't let the bar rest on my shoulders, that's a lot of stress on my wrists and on my elbows. Where if I'm here, I can actually know that the weight is loaded onto my shoulders properly. I could literally let go of the bar and the weight's going to stay there. In the bottom of the squat, we want to make sure that those elbows stay high, because if I have my elbow level drop down, that also causes strain on the midsection, okay? So then we get a rounding of the thoracic spine as well that's going to indicate into the lower lumbar spine. So when we set up, we want to make sure I'm up in that elbow high position and I'm squatting down, being able to maintain that elbow level. That's a lot of strain and stress on the fingers, the wrists, and the elbows. So if I don't have proper range of motion and I drop here, first of all, my elbows are coming into my legs, and you can see that everything else begins to fall forward. If I fall forward, now the bar falls forward, okay? So we want to be able to maintain that nice, healthy position in the catch and be able to keep it through the full range of motion here. So, if we don't have that great range of motion, how can we get there? So, Dr. Jordan here is going to talk a little bit about why, or the certain things that he wants to talk about on range of motion, and then we're going to show you a couple exercises. So, hit us on that range of motion here.
Basically, you're dealing with a bunch of joints and muscles too. In the fingers, and you have 3 joints alone for each finger. Each one of these is connected to tendons and up to muscles for the forearm. The forearm is what controls this hand motion. So basically what we need to do is you need to get proper range of motion in all ranges. So flexion is going to be one of them too. My favorite one that we've found for flexion is, it's very, very simple. Palm right across the knuckles, get that elbow locked out. Now, to add some extra terribleness to it, right on the sleeve of the belt, or of the bar, it's got a nice roll to it. So think about doing foam rolling on it. Get that tension there, and then just start rolling it out. It's going to feel pretty bad. You're going to hit a couple of bumps in the road, go side to side on it. You just want to make sure you're delaminating all that tissue, breaking it up. Secondly, so that's the best one for the flexion. Now, more importantly is going to be the extension of that wrist, getting it back here. So if you don't have one of these, it's not a bad idea to get one. Elite FTS, I don't know what size this is exactly, but there's various sizes. The thicker the band, the more tension it's going to put on you, obviously. So I'm going to have Josh just basically get this thing loaded up. Just holding it like that right there is putting a lot of tension right across the wrist and pulling into that forearm. That is perfect if you're on the road a lot. Grab a band, just sit there in it. Like always, 2-minute hold on any kind of muscle you're trying to make change to. If you do not see change after you do this, you didn't make change. You didn't hold it long enough. That's pretty simple, pretty standard. Now this one's going to be a little bit more aggressive, and it's going to be more appropriate to the front rack position. So just as you would put a bar or a band for a pull-up, you're going to loop it the exact same. Well, okay. Now I'm gonna hold the camera and I'm gonna have Josh get into this rack. I prefer elbows on the inside of the bands, but with anything else, play around with it. Make sure it's comfortable for you. Make sure it fits you appropriately. So all he's doing is getting his fingertips in it first, then getting into a front rack position. Now he can practice squatting down in it, maintaining his proper technique, and you can see how that band's just driving his hands and his fingers back into that extension.
One thing we've also found is if I've got an issue with a tricep and I want to do a little tricep rollout, we talk about that tricep smash, K-Star's always talking about, I can actually do that while I'm in the stretch. And so I can kind of kill two birds here and work around each of those angles and those heads of the tricep tendons that come down there. So again, that's a 2-minute hold on that one as well. And that's a really nice one because it's already putting you into that bar position. You're actually stretching both bilaterally too. So I really like that. And for me, any type of mobility stuff that I can kind of kill two birds, that's huge for me because time's of essence sometimes. So hit those things real quick prior to going into a front rack position on the squat is really ideal for me. Anything else on that stuff?
With anything else, if it feels sketchy, it is. Don't keep doing it if your hands start to go numb, if you feel hot burning sensations, electric shocks down the hand, anything like that, seek help. Don't try to be the hero.
And these guys here, they're just the mini bands, mini strength bands from Elite FTS. They've got a lot of the bigger bands that you see us use for our weighted pull-ups and stuff like that, but this is just their mini bands, and I actually got them for some glute strengthening work. We use them on our athletes all the time for some lower extremity work, and we were playing around today and really kind of just liked what we found there. This is the smallest resistance you get here with the red. The orange gives you a little bit more resistance. The red's probably all about what you're going to want when you're doing this bilateral one on the bar. But definitely if you're getting into the elbow and you've got a decent range, you might be able to do a little bit more on the fingers. So a couple things to try out. Let us know what you think on the comments. We're going to be back next week and we're going to talk about the shoulder complex and how that affects you in that front rack position. So Dr. Jordan, thanks again. And remember, Dr. Jordan's here twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays with you. If you guys have other questions or you need some extra help with certain things, holler at him on those days. Get a hold of us here at Metro-East, and we can get you hooked up with them. Thanks again.